As mentioned, my name is Miranda Williams. I am owner of Joyful Dog Training. That's a training facility in Dixon, Tennessee, and I train pet dogs, service dogs, and I also work with difficult dogs, so cases that bite and things like that. I am so excited to share my passion for service dogs, but I am also super nervous. So please excuse me if I use a few ums or actuallys. And I take a moment to just collect myself in certain circumstances. So I was diagnosed with narcolepsy in 2015. And there's that beautiful daytime sleep study with all the things. It's amazing that you could even sleep with all that on you. But I did. And after my diagnosis and processing what that meant in 2017, I started thinking about a narcoleptic service dog. And I started approaching my medical professionals about what that would mean to me. If it was a legitimate thing I should consider, if it was something that mattered in a way that I was processing my life. So from being able to wake me up, to being able to watch over me when I sleep, to being able to decrease my anxiety and how I felt about things. So in 2020, Magnus was born. This is a video of him as a puppy. And at that point, I realized with 2020 and all the things that was happening, I had the time to train him and took the time and opportunity to do that. That's a pup underneath my desk that you may hear. Magnus, he is my constant companion. He alerts me to moments when I need to sit down, stop biking, or if I watch over me while I sleep. He helps me, like I said, with my anxiety, and he helps this be a place that I can navigate. So this is him currently. And last year, Magnus and I were able to be part of a Dixon County Chamber of Commerce leadership event. During that event, we were able to visit many places. We are the first dog handler team to graduate from that event in 30 years. Like I said, we were able to visit many places. So Tennessee House State Floor was one of the places Magnus and I went. We also went to and met with the governor, Bill Lee, of the state of Tennessee. And to the right of myself and Magnus in the center photo is our county mayor, Bob Ryle. And it was interesting because when we first met Bob, this is the most formal place Magnus and I had been as a service dog team, besides that of the doctor's office or dentist or anything like that. And he said, "Hey, who's this?" And I said, "It's Magnus." And he said, "Hey, Magnus, I'm Bob." And he was so pleasant and nice, and it was really good. And it kind of set me at ease, especially in moments like that. So we will be talking about service dogs, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a small background of how I got here. Before we talk specifically about service dogs, though, I want to go into all the different types of working dogs there are. When you consider what type of working dogs we have and what breeds make the working dogs up, then you really need to consider what you need in a service dog. So it's important to know and recognize. So there's search and rescue dogs that work towards trying to locate missing persons or perform water rescues. There are police and military dogs. These form a varied task, operational task. Going out of a helicopter, an airplane is a big deal. Being able to maintain awareness of handler. You have detection dogs, which specialize in detecting specific substances. Also, detection dogs would be your medical alert dogs as well. You have herding dogs. These dogs are really good at tracking and they're very close to their instinct. They have strong instinct and skills to help them herd. That says a lot when you consider a service dog and reactivity or things that may go ahead and not be in the wheelhouse of that dog. Guard dogs are the same thing. And then sled dogs are dogs that are trained to move or push sleds in snowy conditions. This is a sled dog team practicing over the summer. A big deal about sled dogs, the reason why I bring this up is that if you have a dog that is used to running 20 miles a day, they're not going to be able necessarily to implement tasks that are needed for service work. So this wouldn't necessarily be a working dog of this line. You would not want this one for service work because it will need to run. There's exceptions to every case. Somebody will message and say, okay, there's a Siberian Husky or whatnot. That is an exception. Most of the time, the dogs that want to run are always going to want to run. And then you have your hunting dogs working lines. These dogs are trained to assist hunters in location and retrieving game. This video displays a dog in a working hunt test. And we have therapy dogs, and then we have service dogs. I want to go over the difference between three elements that we hear often. We hear a service dog therapy dog, and emotional support animals. Over the summer, Joyful was able to visit a YMCA camp, and we did a presentation specifically over service versus therapy. But I want to talk about emotional support dogs. Emotional support and emotional comfort to their people. However, they are not specifically trained to alter or do anything with the person to help them in that way, and they do not have the same public access rights as therapy or service dogs. Therapy dogs are dogs that are used or utilized in a format of all types of people and around all type of situations. These dogs are for everyone, so anybody can pet a therapy dog. While recently traveling, I saw a therapy dog at an airport. And that dog's job was just to walk around and be a love bug for people to love on. Currently, our therapy dog is Sully, who you see here going through the line of kids, and everybody got to have loving and affection, and they really enjoyed it. And then you have service dogs. Service dogs are trained specifically for their person to mitigate their disability, to help them with things. Here you'll see Magnus. We are at the very beginning of the class, and he is doing what we call pillow. It's going to take just a moment to load. In this frame, what that means is anywhere I'm at, if I need to lay down and rest my head somewhere, Magnus can lay on his side so that I can have somewhere to rest my head. He was doing this in front of that huge classroom of children that you see in the left-hand photo, which is pretty cool. Now that we identified a service dog, let's really talk about and narrow down what is a service dog. The service dog is specifically trained to assist individuals with disabilities, and they have to be related to your disability. For example, I have narcolepsy. I don't need Magnus to open a door for me. There are varied functions of service dogs, from behavior disruption. That can be waking somebody up who is suffering from a nightmare. The dog senses it, is aware of it, and goes and wakes the person up or provides them comfort. Mobility issues for guiding. This is often larger breeds like Great Danes, because you do want a matching between dog and human stature at all times. You also want to see a dog that's over the age of 2 doing any mobility work, because you need time for that muscle growth and the bones to develop. Sensory or psychiatric dogs. These dogs can be of any breed as long as they have they're task performing and they are temperament tested. These may include repetitive motions. For example, if you have somebody who picks at their skin or taps, these dogs can come and interrupt that behavior. And then you have alerting to medical conditions. These are like seizures or low blood sugar. Magnus is in the center. This is him at a bowling alley. He was there for over 4 hours while I bowled and watched over me. So each of these representations are service dogs that are trained for specific tasks or work to mitigate somebody's disability. Who might need a service dog? Vision or hearing impairments. In this case, it would be guide dogs. We have a gentleman that we're training for that he can't step off curbs. Curbs, so depth perception is an issue, so he will need a guide dog. You have psychiatric conditions. This is grounding techniques. So imagine a weighted blanket that has a heartbeat. And then you can cue that dog when you're having a panic attack or something like that to come across and lay across you to help you feel better. Autism spectrum disorders. Recently, I trained a service dog for a child who had an elopement risk. Elopement risk is when they're running off. And so this dog's job was to close doors, to alert the person that the child has left the premises, and to actually go and block the child from moving further and barking until somebody came and helped collect the child. That was a really big deal and offered a lot of comfort to that child's mother. You have social assistance interactions. We are recently discussing a dog that we would like to train to recognize whether a person's having a hallucination or not. So the way that we believe we're going to do it is offer that dog a go say hi command. And if the dog does not go say hi, then there's obviously nobody there, and you will realize that it's a hallucination and that you're safe and you're okay. This is for social interaction, PTSD, or anxiety disorders. I always want to say that in every case, there is invisible disabilities, and those are to be recognized as much as somebody that has something that says they are disabled. Nobody has to determine that Only you can, and whether you need a service dog yourself and a medical professional. And then which goes into, would a service dog mitigate my disability? Disability is defined by the ADA as a physical or mental impairment that limits one or more major life activities. An example would be driving. A normal person, if they don't sleep too well, they can drive a vehicle. They may feel tired or they may feel sleepy, but they are aware of it and they can pull over. There's other options available to them. They can get a good night's sleep before a long drive. Over 61 million people in the US are living with a disability, and less than 1% are teamed with service dogs. There was a study done of 204 individuals, so not a large study, but we wanted to start having some empirical data that teaming up with a service dog, and what does that mean? Survey questions included the benefits and things like that. So emotional connection, 96% people said that there was a better emotional connection. Community participation, physical activity, so just getting up and moving around more, psychological well-being, quality of life. These are all areas at which a service dog helped them continue to live out their best life. Another one was reduction in prescribed medication by 78%. I think that's really cool considering prescription medication and the way that you can utilize dog to help you feel better and how you help it navigate a world where you're walking with a disability. Greater evidence is definitely needed to know how this will be helpful, but bringing in mind back into the driving, imagine driving down a road that's curvy, that's windy, and you are not just sleepy, you're having a sleep attack, which means that you are starting to decrease in cognitive ability. And in some cases, you're not even aware that you're not fully there. It's kind of like you're daydreaming and you wake up or your mind has been somewhere else. In those moments on a road like this, it can be incredibly unsafe. So driving becomes something that I cannot do on a normal basis, potentially. So to think about the definition, impairment that limits one or more major life activities. Driving is a major life activity. Let's talk about legal rights and regulations. The Americans with Disability Act's regard service dog is defined as an individual trained working towards task for an individual. Sorry, a service animal is defined as a dog that has been individually trained to do work or perform tasks for an individual with a disability. I'll mention this again because it has to be in relation to their disability. I do not need Max turning on and off lights. He needs to make sure that I'm safe when I'm sleeping. In a lot of states, often dogs are required to have vaccinations. Each state, city, or county may be different and requires the licensing of pets, not necessarily certifications in any way of dogs. Service dogs do not require any formal registration. They have public access rights, meaning your animal is allowed where you are allowed to go. However, there are exceptions. Those exceptions are a public pool specifically. I'm going to backtrack for just a moment because I forgot an element of this that I want to talk about, which is the certifications. Just because you don't have to have certifications doesn't mean that you should not have your animal regularly visiting a veterinarian. And we'll cover that a little bit more. And your animal is not a direct threat or harmful or disruptive to people. So that's beyond where the places are. That's how your animal is acting. If your animal is out of control or acting harmful to a person, then it doesn't matter if your service dog is welcome in that place. Your animal has made itself unwelcome, your dog. So in respective to places, it would be a swimming pool, churches or other type of organizations, and then private property. Someone can choose to not allow your service animal if it's private property or privately owned. Salons are also something I've ran across. They're not on this particular slide, but the health department comes in independently of these type of things. And so they will hold the salon owner responsible if somebody's in there without a legitimate service dog. How do you go about getting a service dog? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to a healthcare professional. Make sure that they are on board with it. They understand the need. They can actually help you quantify what that need is and what does it matter. For example, if you weren't too sure what my dog would help me with anxiety, your doctor would say, well, how does your anxiety feel? and what helps you get past your anxiety besides taking a medication. Does a weighted blanket help, or does other things like that make a difference? You also want to get a medical statement from your doctor stating that you need of a service dog. This medical statement does not in any way, shape, or form attest to the temperament, ability, or task of the dog. All it says is the doctor believes that a service dog could mitigate your disability. Then you want to choose a reputable organization to either A, help train your dog, B, to help select a dog, or somewhere that already has a dog program, a service dog program. So they already have bred service dogs that are there that have been training and you get matched up. Companion Canine is one of those, or Canine Companions, I'm sorry, is another one. You also want to choose a reputable breeder. If you choose to buy your own dog, you want to choose a reputable breeder. That is essential. We have Cane Creek Labradors here, and they do health testing, temperament testing. The lineage of the service dog actually has working service dog lineage in it. Does the breeder perform early stimulation, which helps the brain development and process stress, which makes a very well-balanced, developed dog. If you need to, you also can find reliable sources, work online with trainers, and find some peer groups to help you out. Once you get that service dog, what are your responsibilities? Care and management. We're talking about being able to take your dog to the vet, making sure that it's maintained, its health is maintained, its grooming is maintained, it has flea and tick control, and you want to be able to continue training with your dog. You don't ever want to stop training your service dog because there's always going to be new circumstances and new things that they are facing. It's very important to continue that training if you ever run into any issues. That leads me to the next one, which is behavior management. You want to make sure that in case you do run into issues, you know how to manage that behavior that your dog is displaying. For example, your dog should not be walking on a table in a restaurant. Let's talk service dog temperament. Many times, if you go back to slide 2, you'll see a lot of dogs in that category. For example, guard dogs. Not necessarily the best course of action for that line of work to become a service dog. So the temperament of the dog does matter. There are some websites that have pass rates. This one specifically is called the American Temperament Test Society. And what you do is if you put in what the breed is, they'll have it by alphabetical order, then you'll be able to see what your pass rate is for your breed. For example, my German Shepherd pass rate, and it's only as who files this. So it's only as big, this study is only as big as who files this. My German Shepherd's pass rate was 86% chance of passing per their documentation. Labradors, Golden Retrievers, they're going to be higher, normally above 90%. You want to make sure the temperament of your dog is good. They should not be easily frustrated. Their confidence should be there. Here you see Magnus with Halloween exploration and doing all of that. Open to new experience and not reactive to environments. That one is a big deal. Here you'll see 9-month-old cream retriever Goose going and having a soccer ball go right by him. And he stayed there. That's non-reactive to environmental factors. You have the environment, the soccer ball running by him, and Goose is maintaining his training and able to hold it. And he's only 9 months old. Says a lot to who he is as a dog. You need a dog that's going to want to learn and be involved with his handler. And that's very helpful. So service dog that wants to work, a service dog that wants to be involved, and then you have access to what breeds work best and what breeds are more likely to pass service dog work requirements. Basic training of a service dog. You need to have basic obedience skills. Before you start any task training, your dog needs to know how to sit, down, wait, leash walking, stay. An AKC, good citizen, is the baseline for a lot of these dogs. As you can see here on the K9 Good Citizen test options, you'll see accepts of friendly strangers, sitting politely for petting, out for a walk, appearance and grooming. Again, these are all things that we have already talked about, especially appearance and grooming. These are things that compound itself to create a well-balanced service dog. So this is the startup. This is like the baseline of where you would start. Sit down, wait, leash walking, acquiring your AKC. This is Magnus. You can see I'm using the AKC patch on his. That lets everybody know that he has acquired that baseline, that he has met these standards. And then, of course, also his narcolepsy service dog patch. So no one bothers us if I am resting. When you look at dog training, you always want to look at the fact that dogs are always steps of learning. So there's a steps to learning process. First, your dog has to acquire the knowledge. What are you teaching the dog? I'm teaching it to sit. Then that behavior is offered automatically, consistently. So that you all turn around and the dog is just sitting, but you're still in the house. Then you generalize in all the places the dog needs to sit. In the house, in the car, at Walmart, if it's a service dog, various places. And then you have to maintain that training. But it is never one level. It's always a stair-step process, and we never expect the dog to know something at the very top level until we told or train them on the knowledge at tier 1. After your dog understands basic training of a service dog, then we move on to the intermediate to advanced service dog training. That's a little tricky. Dogs learn through pictures rather than other methods. So when you give them different pictures of those commands being performed in different areas, you're going to get a more balanced dog. They can learn hand signals really easily. So that's important. So we're going beyond the sit and the wait. We're going to talk about stay during distractions and duration and the distance of things. So you want to be able to put your dog in a stay and leave a room. You're going to want a dog is going to want to work. You want them to be able to put that vest on and stick their head in and just be willing to just be up for anything. You're going to want them to have a good leave it command. A leave it command means don't touch it, don't bother it. It's that squirrel that's running down the road or that bunny or things like that. You don't want to have to hold your dog in place when it's a service dog. You want it to hold its place, meaning you want it to be where it's supposed to be. And you want it to want to be where it's supposed to be. If you're always having to fight with your service dog, then you need to back off from training, or maybe that's not a dog that you need to be training for service work. Temperament testing is a big deal, task-specific training, things like that. You want frustration training of high tolerance to frustration. That's kids running around, kids playing, especially parks and things like that are very important. So this would be type of frustration training. Things like umbrellas going off around the dog. That makes a dog reactive in some cases. So if you don't prepare your dog to accept things startling them, then you're going to have a difficult time. After that, a canine good citizen, you'll have what they call the public access or the urban test. That's the next stage. So first stage would be your CGC, and then the next stage would be your urban canine, which says they've been out in public and they're really great dogs. This is Magnus on a fire escape. He'd never been on one. Again, you don't need to convince your dog to do work. They want to do the work. They want to be there with you. Again, not easily startled. There are some training documentation that may be beneficial. For example, a microchip registration that people want to know that, or any authority would want to know that your dog will be able to be found. Or you may have your veterinarian records on you, or you can have your medical release form on you. I have a random training video photo there that kind of got me off track now. My brain's going, why did I put a training video? Probably because I'm talking about training, and I'm talking about continuing to train way past the point of sit down and stay, because a service dog is way more than a sit down and wait stay. I was going to go back to this one, which is the American Service Dog Coalition. This is a coalition of the AKC, Canines for Warriors, and Association of Service Dog Providers for military veterans. And it's an opt-in credentialing service. There is no certification or credentials for service work or service dogs. I believe that should change, in my personal opinion. I think that we need to hold these dogs to a standard, and we need to know that the standard is base. So we check A, B, and C boxes, and we know these dogs are safe, they're performing tasks, and we can get something so we don't have to invade people's space asking, is that a service dog? Or we actually have to ask what task, but that's a whole nother topic. Let's talk about service dog skills. These dogs are task trained. Skills are the tasks that they're trained on. For example, bracing-based task. Say that fast 3 times. You can do bracing on the stairs or helping a partner. Then you have carrying-based tasks. These are carrying items around the home, taking a credit card from you and handing it to a teller. These are carrying-based tasks. Some breeds and certain working lines are going to do this better than others. For example, a husky probably is not going to want to carry things to you and for you unless it's on its back or it's pulling something. Whereas a Labrador, since it's in that working line family of retrieving, it's going to want to retrieve items naturally. You have comfort-based tasks, which is a barrier and social pressure, snuggle, lick, or hug to calm you. You have deposit-based tasks, which are to deliver items to a hamper, a clothes dry, a washer and dryer, things like that. You have emergency assistance, barking for help. That is going back to the golden retriever that I trained for the child who was an elopement risk, that he would bark to have emergency help in order to ensure that child was returned to safety. You have nose-based tasks. These are pushing buttons, electric doors, turning on light switches, things like that. This is Boone, who's learning novice work. The reason why I point this out is because some of these tasks that he does, like two paws up, this is two paws reaching up and giving you something, or just simply fetching something. Now, he doesn't do it with high level of enthusiasm. You can see he just tosses the thing back to me, but he gets it done. And then you have harness-based tasks, which are transporting items in a wagon or bracing you from a chair or getting up. Paw-based tasks are closing heavy doors by jumping and using that for both paws and moving a wheelchair and holding positions. You have retrieval-based tasks, which are, going to find an item and picking it up. For example, we have a service dog in training who will collect keys and bring them to you. Tug-based tasks, which are opening items up like this one. These dogs can remove you to assist shoes and socks and things like that. So these are just some of the service dog skills that we're looking at when we think about having a service dog. Training is early. We always set foundational training straight in the beginning. This creates bonds for your trainer or for the handler and for the dog. This is at a local high school where both of these dogs that you see here are in training. The Labrador to your right is in training for search and rescue, and there's that beautiful blue heeler again that was playing fetch. In a little bit, you'll see him sitting through a fire alarm drill, which is really kind of cool. So they're both working and practicing their public access points. You want to hand feed? That's a nice way to start all of that. I did not realize that audio was going to play, but don't forget to breathe. That's very important. Let's just have a minute, right? So this is early stimulation training and hand feeding, which allows them to follow those hands and leads them to positions that you need. This is positive reinforcement. Again, we're wanting to keep the dog motivated in learning. That's funny. The other one that I have over here, I think it may go back. Hold on. Let me see. There we go. This baby right here. I wanted to show you guys this because it's super cute. There we go. This one's going through a tunnel, and that builds that confidence level. And he just pounces in there in just a moment, which I think is so fun. No, we didn't see that. Okay, we saw the heart. That's it. Okay, all of that just to see the little thing. Okay, so tunnels and things like that give dogs confidence. The early puppy confidence building is very important. It makes them confident to be able to be your partners through life, which is really cool. Challenges of having a service dog. This is challenges that not like personally that you would have, but just challenges in general of a service dog. So you're looking at medical expenses. You are going to have this dog go to the vet. There may be expenses that you're not expecting. Ongoing training, poor public experience and public misunderstanding. People are going to feel a certain way about having a service dog. If you have an invisible illness, they're going to feel a certain way about you having a service dog and you not looking like you have a reason why you need it. Allergies or fear. I put a pit bull on here. Pit bulls going to make amazing service dogs. Bulldogs in general, amazing service dogs. People will be scared of them. Same thing with German Shepherds and other guardian type breeds. There is a misconception and fear that's there. A well-temperamented dog will be an asset to its dog handler team. You have access denial. There will be access denial issues. It will not be perfect. There will people come and find out why you're there and all sorts of things. So that can be a challenge for somebody who deals with anxiety or being confronted. And then being vulnerable. For those of us who do have invisible disabilities, taking our service dog around with a big old red sign that says Narcolepsy service dog on it is vulnerable. People will know and they're aware of who you are and you're walking around. And so it feels very vulnerable at times. And I consider that to be one of the challenges for me. And this is the trouble with novice handlers and those training for service dogs themselves. So if you choose to train a service dog for yourself, or you're new to handling a service dog, these are things that happen or can happen. And so it's a constant job. There is never a moment when you and your service dog team are not working, learning, and living life next to one another. That's the whole point. But because of that, it can feel like a constant job. The success rate for owner trained, the rate of success is 50 to 70% do not complete training. It is a consistent, constant job. You can have behavior problems that you're not aware of will even turn into behavior problems. So for example, if your dog is barking too much or something like that is happening, how do you handle that? How do you want to handle it? And then depending upon your dog's temperament and who they are and their work ethic behind them, how you handle it does matter. So struggling with that type of stuff or jumping or aggression. You have lack of public etiquette results in a fearful dog or overstimulation. There's a lot of reasons and issues with public etiquette that's interesting to me. One being other people. Because Magnus, my dog, has had water bottles dropped on him. He's had slushies spilled on him. He's had people try to get him to be reactive and get into his face. So you have that. And then you also have your own etiquette, like where do you place your dog when they are around other people? Here's a rooftop bar that we attended, and Magnus is tucked away under the table. He's laid out, but he's out of the way, out of the main flow of traffic. He is put somewhere where he doesn't have to be disturbed and other people don't have to worry about him. You have overstimulation and poor socialization. So sometimes when we think of socializing, we think that we need to go all out with it, and that's not the case. So you have to be careful with how much you're socializing, making sure it's the appropriate socialization, and then also not having unrealistic expectations for what your puppy is capable of doing. Inconsistent commands. It goes back to a trainer. A trainer really needs to be consistent on what they say and mean what they say. So if you want 2 paws up, and they do a full jump up with all 4 paws on the item, that's technically not the right thing. And even though it was cute and it was fun, that's an inconsistent command. And so therefore, if you reward the one where all 4 paws are up, you're rewarding the wrong command. And sometimes struggling owners with training your own service dog and things like that, that part of that can be difficult. Again, that I said you see that cattle dog again. This is watching high schoolers fall out during a fire alarm. I saved you guys from that audio. Neglecting health needs. It is tough raising a service dog. And sometimes when you have a disability, you put yourself on the back burner because you want to push through. And in a lot of cases, you can, without meaning to, start neglecting your own health needs. It's important that you maintain healthy and that you maintain the bond of healthiness between you and your canine companion. Misidentifying the need. What do you need your service dog to do? I have a lot of people when they approach me for service dogs, they ask me, they're like, well, Miranda, what can you train it to do? And my first question is what do you need your service dog to do? What is the thing that is hindering you from being able to live out your best life? How can this dog mitigate? So if you think the dog needs to open doors for you, but really that's not what you need to do. That's a misidentifying the need for your service dog. What do you need it to do? A difficulty in handling multiple tasks. This would be kids running, dog barking. A stranger wants to approach you, start asking you about your service dog. If you're having to manage that all at once, that can be incredibly overwhelming. But all of that aside, I want to talk about the positives of service dogs because there's a lot of positives. One positive is increased independence. Let's face it, that's why it was a big deal for me. Having or being told that I potentially couldn't drive myself around or that I couldn't go biking or hiking by myself anymore because I may need to rest or something may happen. That was not acceptable. And I didn't want that to be part of what was happening. And so it was important to me to maintain my independence. Okay, so I did, and then we have emotional support. Those around you will love you and you will get a lot of support from the people around you. You have increased confidence. It gives you the confidence to continue. I am not a big people person. Crowds make me nervous. Magnus helps me go to these places and gives me confidence. Assurance if needed. Again, the weighted blanket. And social interactions. You're there with your dog and your dog is part of things and that makes social interactions and it's going to get you out more. Again, you go back to the study that we did. Over 90% more saw an increase in activity. It gives you routine and structure. And finally, just really enjoy your dog. Okay, we're going to go through this slide because I know we're kind of on the time scale. So I want to talk about my service dog. So he braces for task, and I'm going to go through these quickly, but the videos will continue playing. One is he will sleep attack. So I'm able to lay completely on him. There's the bracing. Now he's 4 years old. And then you have helping to the ground. So this is where I need to go straight to the ground, and I actually need to lay down like that pillow move. So you're seeing it from the very beginning. And then covering my body position. So if I'm somewhere and I need to go over or deep pressure therapy, you will see him covering me in a moment, and then he'll go down to a down position, which will allow me to lay on him or to have him as a protector. He also opens doors. I know that's funny, but he does. He walks faster on the harness for me when I need to get somewhere, and he alerts to somebody approaching my car. And this is Chance. He's a service dog in training. He knows his sit, his down, his wait, leash walking. He knows how to pull open drawers. Now, ask me if it was a good idea to teach him that this young. So he is about 10 weeks old in this video, and he is pulling those drawers open. We actually had to remove that ability from him. He got really good at it. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me come and share with you guys. I want you to enjoy having your dog. There's Magnus in the end, just having a great time throwing his frisbee, myself and him with our leadership group. And he's, taking on a pair of sunglasses. So I really appreciate you guys allowing me to have this. And thank you so much. And you guys have a great day. Well, okay, so one of these questions was a more specific service that a narcolepsy trained dog could provide. They sleep detection, sleep attack detection. Narcoleptics sometimes have hallucinations, and so there's the one where you're able to say, "Go say hi," to see if that's an hallucination, to see if somebody's there. Waking you up from the sleep paralysis. So when you get to a point, kind of nudging you or moving you, making sure you take your medication in the morning, waking you up if you sleep through an alarm. Those are just some of the ones off the top of my head. I've been thinking about narcoleptic dogs and how they can assist people and what it means for us. And I'm just so excited to look at all the various ways, because each person experiences symptoms so equal to themselves, and they're not broad symptoms necessarily. Each time I've ever had the privilege of talking to somebody with narcolepsy and having those types of moments, I get to know more about them and know more about how service dogs can be of aid and help. Do they need to go with you everywhere? Well, it depends. If the dog needs to go, the next question was, do they need to go everywhere with me? It depends on the situation for me. If I have somebody driving me, then I will leave them at home. If I have situations like when I was in a leadership program, we were traveling in a factory, and I did not think that a factory floor line and things like that, I didn't know if we were going to the bread company. So I left Magnus at home on those days, but most of the time, absolutely. He is there. There's been many times when I'll walk with my family and I will close my eyes as I'm walking and I will hold on to him and I'll say, keep up. And his job is to keep up with them while I'm walking like a zombie with my eyes closed. But I tell you, just a few minutes of doing that and I'm back up and I'm on my feet, but I literally stayed on my feet walking with my family, if that makes sense. So that was really cool. Oh, okay. 50% of the dogs, okay, they don't, when you are owner training, the ability to do that is really tough. 50 to 70% of owner trained service dogs do not make it to completion. So then you have to deal with what we call washout. Washout is when a dog doesn't make it through the service work. So you've just spent, say, for example, you bought a dog from a breeder, average $1,500 to $3,000. You bought a puppy. You brought it home. You thought you chose the right line. You thought you chose everything perfect. It's not working out. Those dogs are called washout. Well, what do you do with the dog? Do you sell it? Do you find another home? Do you keep it and go get another service dog prospect? Then how much time are you spending with second dog? So so you have to look at how do you go about training your specific service dog and how do you get the help in foundational help that you need. Cataplexy, that's a tough one. I don't have cataplexy. It was the question was, how might a service dog assist with cataplexy? I don't have cataplexy. I would assume that there would be some scent detection there, much like a sleep attack. I know that I start disassociating. And so Magnus picks up on that disassociation, and then that's when he'll come and nudge me or nudge me more to the awareness that, hey, I need to actually close my eyes. I need to have a minute. I need to take that moment. So, but I would imagine that there are chemical changes within the body that happens during that. So I would have to do more research on the cataplexy specifically, and I would love to know what that would be. If you ever get some research on it too, shoot it to us and let us know, because I'd be curious about that. I would love to investigate that more. Organization to get a service dog. There are a lot of organizations, depending upon where you're at. You can reach out to your insurance companies. If you're a veteran, you can reach out to veteran services, because there's a lot out there for veteran services, thankfully. The other idea is to find a reputable organization, which would be Canine Companions. That was actually started by the creator of Snoopy. And then you have, gosh, I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Normally, what I find in my localized area is that people will purchase the dog, and then they will want service dog training on the dog they have, and they want to raise it. For example, the one we have right now in the facility is a 9-week-old golden retriever puppy, and she's being raised to become somebody's service dog with agoraphobia. And so they went ahead and purchased the dog, and they placed her into a training facility. That's how these people chose to do it, rather than going through an organization. So that would be, I would look into it and just say, do a generic search, but you want to look for, make sure they have breeding programs. You want to make sure if they are reputable and that they can send you to places or people that have actually gotten dogs from them. That's why I mentioned Canine Companions, because they're very, actually Netflix just recently did a special with them. It's called In Your Dog's Mind, or In a Dog's Mind, or something like that, which was actually a really good documentary.
Okay, so the next question here, I'm just going to read off for you. I have a therapy dog, but I need one to alert when I'm driving and falling asleep. Can I train my 6-year-old mixed breed to do that from the back seat? I also need to be braced as I tend to be tipsy due to scoliosis. Can I train this dog to help me with that?
It, it depends on the breed of dog that you're working with, whether it could be bracing for scoliosis. You want a dog that's matched up for size and weight scale. You don't want a dog that you're not going to be able to brace off of a beagle. Anything under a certain pounds and weight, it's just not going to make bracing possible. So you're going to want to choose, at least I would imagine, a 60 to 70-pound dog. And you're going to need it taller depending upon, I'm lucky, I'm short. So Magnus is perfect for me. He looks like a horse next to me. So you could get that bracing on potentially on the mix that you have. As for being able to do any of the other work, it depends on the dog's drive and where the dog is at. Sometimes therapy dogs are really, really happy-go-lucky dogs, and they're great, but the tasking side of that, meaning the work that they have to do, they're just not too keen on.
All right, the next question, how can they assist with sleeping attacks while driving?
Oh, well, in that case, it would be the disassociation for Magnus. That's how he's able to detect that. So he detects the disassociation when I am getting into that state of mind where I'm not really paying attention. And then from there, my eyelids start shutting really heavy and very forcefully. And so then at that stage, he's nudging me and basically taking up my whole arm. So I believe that answered that question.
Are there places that have dogs already that can be trained, or do you always buy your own first? I think we kind of already touched on that.
There are some places where you can buy what they call starter trained service dogs. So you want to be careful about where you get these dogs from. They're advertised on Facebook and in a lot of forums for service dogs. When they say starter train, what they should mean, if you're doing a starter train service dog, is you're looking at that basic obedience all the way up to that intermediate level with some type of tasking to prove that they care about actually doing the work. So if I said, hey, I have a starter dog, and you say, oh, Miranda, what kind of starter dog do you have and what do they know? And I'm like, well, they're just a good dog, and I've had them and I've raised them for 9 months. That's not a starter dog. So if you have a 9-month-old dog, I would expect a dog that's been trained for service work at 9 months to know sit, down, wait, leave it, stay, loading up in a vehicle, being nice. Basically, you're looking at that urban canine. So if you go to AKC and you look through that, and that doesn't checklist, that marker, and underneath that, meaning the CGC, then on top of that, I would also ask, what tasks do they know? For example, the lab that I showed you, I can say, give my shoes. And he's getting my shoes not to run off and chew on, but he will actually bring them to me. He's 6 months old. Give me my keys. He already understands. So that's 6 months of age that you already have a starter almost dog there. So there are cases like that. Just be very, very careful and make sure that you know what dog you're getting. Meet the dog. Make sure it's good with other dogs. You don't want a dog that's reactive in service work, meaning something walked by that it doesn't like and it's just going to bark about it and be very disruptive.
Are you animal as you are with a regular pet when the vest is off? And
If he with Magnus, if his vest is on, he's working. And so it becomes very strict about no touching, no talking, no making eye contact. I liken it to like this in most presentations that if you're reading your favorite book or your favorite movie and somebody comes in there and just starts poking at you or moving their hand, you're going to get frustrated. You have a job to do. You're trying to finish up an assignment. You want to finish watching this movie. It's very disruptive to the dog to want to do their job and to be consistently disrupted. Now, can he still do it? Yes. It's like when he goes after a frisbee, if he's happy about playing, he's going to mow a toddler over to get to his frisbee because I just threw it and that's his job. So, and to get that frisbee, that's what I told him to do. And so in that case, when you become disruptive to a dog like that, they just want to do their job. Some dogs can walk that line where they can say hi to people and they can go, but really the standard for service dogs is that they are to be focused on their handler. Now, when we get home and the vest comes off and it's time to play frisbee and it's time to have fun, then that I'm not going to require anything extra of him. It's his off time. However, because he is a service dog, does he ever leave my side even in his off time? No, no. We're always doing something together. He's always on the job. It might not be, strictly speaking, rules enforced. For example, vested means you don't greet people. Vested means you don't eat food off the floor. Vested means you don't pee, things like that. And so, as a matter of fact, training him to go potty in his vest was very difficult because again, it goes back to people's perception. I didn't want to be one of those people in a parking lot putting on his vest. So I made him wear it all the time when we were out. So there would be no misunderstanding for the people around us. So it became a little bit confusing for him. So we had to modify our training accordingly. So it depends on the handler and how they want to handle it. But personally, for me, I would say vest, he's my partner and coworker, more than a coworker. But I don't know how most coworkers are. I like my coworker here, but at Joyful, so I don't know, but she is more of my partner too. But definitely Magnus is my partner. He is my other half of me that helps me make it through my day in a safe way, and that is so important.
next question is, what is
AKC. I see them now. They're coming up. Awesome. AKC is American Kennel Club. So, for example, I'm an AKC evaluator. So AKC is American Kennel Club, and they put forth these standards of training that says this is what we determine as a baseline. For example, the CGC, Canine Good Citizen. And then they have other levels. So you receive AKC titles based on what your dog is doing. That would be like if your dog's in a hunt test, they will receive hunt test titles, or scent detection, they would receive scent detection titles. And all of that is registered and validated by the American Kennel Club. Thank you for asking. That was a good question.
Suggestions for reputable service dog trainers?
Okay, well, actually, I like the other one. It says Canine Partners. Did you guys see that for life? Pennsylvania has a few narcolepsy alert dogs. That's really good. So if anybody is in Pennsylvania and curious about that, that was Canine Partners for life. Thank you, Katie. Suggestions for a reputable service dog. Gosh, reputable. That is hard in this day and age. I'll tell you, the reputable service dogs. The training world is huge. It's gotten so big. And there are so many people. I know a lady that a year ago, she was selling candles and this year she's training. So buyer beware almost. You want to look at, to ask if your trainer is certified, have them show you proof. Have them demonstrate to you and work a dog in front of you. Make sure that they are communicating with that dog. Make sure that they are working alongside you, especially when you're looking at service dog work. make sure they're considering the temperament and making sure the dog continues to want to work, because that's a really big deal. So those are suggestions for reputable dog trainers. You're going to want a history there, an AKC evaluator. Yeah, Joyful Dog Training. I don't know where you're located at, but we definitely, I believe we are actually certified. There's not any quantifying, certifying anything for service dogs or for dog trainers. I am an advocate for both. I believe that people need to be protected against those who say they can train a dog and cannot, or those that mishandle dogs and call it training. That's not good either. So, but I don't know where you're located at. If you're in Tennessee, reach out. I can help you find somebody in Tennessee. My knowledge as far as nationwide, I would hate to even try. But if you want my help improving anybody or helping you, if you want me to help you with any way, just reach out, please, and let me know. And I'd be more than willing to help you find somebody in your area and even interview them or help you be on the call with you.